Let's go Browns! The Cleveland Browns are entering one of the most crucial moments of the season, and fans are increasingly impatient with the controversy surrounding the starting quarterback, who simply won't let up. Why is he still on the bench while Dillon Gabriel continues to lead one of the worst offenses in the NFL? The numbers don't lie, the performance isn't improving, and now, for the first time in his tenure, General Manager Andrew Berry is completely silent. No press conference, no accountability, just more questions, and we're here to ask them all. If you're a true Browns fan, you need to stick around. We have all the details the team isn't revealing, from insider information to questionable coaching decisions, and we're going to expose it all. Why is Sanders being sidelined? Is there something more going on behind the scenes than they're willing to admit? And how long will Kevin Stefanski be able to justify these decisions? Like this now if you're tired of the same old excuses. Leave your opinion in the comments. Should Shador be the starter after the bye week? This is the conversation they don't want you to have. Let's go. Let's get to the facts. Gabriel has struggled mightily in recent weeks, and that's not just the eye test talking. According to Pro Football Focus, Gabriel's passing grade sits at a dismal 47.6, the worst among all starting quarterbacks in the NFL. His completion percentage? A mere 59.9%, ranking him fourth worst. But here's the kicker, his yards per attempt are just 4.9, also dead last among starters. Think about that. He's throwing short passes and still missing the mark. He's not taking risks, yet the turnover-worthy plays keep stacking up. He ranks 7th in that category too. And when it comes to completed air yards, Gabriel's average of 3.2 yards per completion is, again, last in the league. It's no longer about giving a young quarterback time to develop. These numbers scream regression. And what makes it worse is the refusal to even give Shedeur Sanders a look. Fans have started to voice their frustrations, and even members of the media are calling for Sanders to get his shot. Cleveland Browns insider Brad Stainbrook publicly posted that it was time to bench Gabriel and start Sanders. That post even received a like from Sanders himself, though it appears he may have unliked it later, but a screenshot remains as evidence of where his mindset is. So, what's holding Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry back? Why won't they even let Sanders take first-team reps in practice? The conspiracy theories are already starting to form. An ESPN article pointed out that Stefanski and several coaches Gabriel has played for in college are all represented by the same agency, CAA. That includes Oregon's Dan Lanning, Brent Venables, and Florida State's offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn-Reed. Coincidentally, all three were Gabriel's college coaches. Stefanski and Andrew Berry are tied into this same agency web. Is that why they pushed for Gabriel in the third round, when nobody else had him graded ahead of Sanders? Is this about loyalty to agency ties rather than performance? Let's not forget what happened in preseason. Sanders started off as QB4 behind Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Gabriel. Even when Flacco was benched, Sanders remained QB3. And through it all, he never got a single rep with the first team. That's not an accident. That's a deliberate choice not to develop him. To make matters worse, when the Browns were blown out by the Dolphins 31-6, Sanders' only game as the designated backup quarterback, he was still left on the sideline. Then, out of nowhere, he was ruled inactive the next week with what the team labeled a back injury. But when asked about it, Stefanski gave a bizarre, vague answer. He just came in and was stiff. Stiff? That's not an injury. That's a dodge. Sanders was seen warming up before the game. This smells more like a move to keep him off the field and out of the conversation. And then there's the silence. Andrew Berry, who has always addressed the media during the bye week in his 6 years as GM, declined to speak this time. That's unprecedented, and fans are right to ask, what is going on? Why was Joe Flacco traded to a division rival like Cincinnati? Why didn't the Browns draft a wide receiver or an offensive lineman in the 2025 NFL draft when those were glaring needs, especially with 4 starters entering contract years? Because right now, this offense is sputtering in ways we haven't seen in years. And even if you're the biggest Gabriel supporter out there, it's impossible to ignore the glaring disconnect between his style of play and the direction this team needs to head. Conservative checkdowns, ineffective drives, and an absolute inability to stretch the field. This isn't sustainable football. And while the coaching staff might be worried about throwing a rookie into the fire, at some point you have to ask, how much worse can it get? This is not to say Shedeur Sanders is going to step in and become a franchise savior overnight. But this is about momentum. It's about hope. And it's about finding out what you really have. Because let's be honest, if the Browns have no plans to test Sanders now, in a season already hanging by a thread, then why did they invest in him at all? Why not trade him? Why not give him a real developmental path instead of using him as a depth piece with zero opportunity? Look back to the Dolphins game again. A blowout loss, nothing to lose, and your second-string quarterback, the only game he's listed as QB2, isn't even given mop-up duty. That's not caution. That's strategic avoidance. If Sanders goes in, plays well, and excites the fan base, even in garbage time, that becomes pressure on Stefanski and Barry to pivot. Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they're terrified of it. And now that he's been sidelined with this ambiguous back stiffness injury, we're expected to believe it's just routine? Not a single clear explanation. No injury report detail. Just he was stiff. Browns fans are right to be skeptical. If Sanders was out there warming up, then suddenly ruled inactive, it starts to feel like the team is doing everything it can to avoid having to answer for why they're not playing him. Let's not pretend the locker room is immune to this either. Players watch the film. They see the lack of deep threats, the stalled drives, and the empty stats. You can only sell "we believe in Gabriel" for so long before guys start questioning the bigger picture. Morale takes a hit when the team sees a better option rotting on the bench, or worse, being hidden behind excuses. And what about accountability? This week, for the first time since becoming general manager, Andrew Barry has refused to speak during the bye week. 6 years, and he's always addressed the media. Now, at a time when fans are demanding answers, when the quarterback room is in turmoil, when the offensive line is in shambles, and the team is underachieving, he ducks the questions. There's no mistaking it. This is a front office and coaching staff in damage control mode. They're circling the wagons, hoping to ride out the storm rather than confront the very real and growing doubts about their decision-making. But here's the truth. Avoiding the conversation doesn't stop it. It only makes it louder. What happens if the Browns lose to the Jets? What happens if Gabriel throws another pick or finishes another game under 200 yards with under 6 yards per attempt? At what point do you say, enough is enough? Because we already know Stefanski's stance. He says he's sticking with Gabriel after the bye. But how long does that leash remain if this offense continues to be among the league's worst in explosive plays, scoring drives, and third down conversions? Sanders might not be ready to light up the scoreboard, but it's hard to argue he could be less effective than what we're currently seeing. At least with him, there's upside. There's unpredictability. There's a spark. Instead, we get silence. We get vague injury excuses. We get no press conference from the GM. And we get the sense that this organization is more concerned about protecting their pick, Dillon Gabriel, than giving the team its best shot to win football games. If that's true, then Browns fans deserve better. You've waited too long, endured too much heartbreak, to watch potential wither on the bench while mediocrity starts every week. This isn't about throwing a rookie into chaos, it's about refusing to accept failure as the default. So what's next? The pressure is only going to mount. With each game, with each underthrow, with each stalled drive, the questions get louder. And if Gabriel continues to flounder, it's going to be nearly impossible for Stefanski and Barry to justify leaving Sanders on the sideline. Fans are already chanting for him in the stadium. The conversation is happening whether the front office wants it or not. And here's the reality. We might already be approaching the tipping point. The moment where the fan base, the locker room, and even some in the media start demanding answers. And if the Browns don't pivot, if they double down on Gabriel despite all evidence, they risk alienating not just fans, but players, too. So Browns fans, if you're tired of watching an offense stuck in neutral, if you're ready to see number 12 finally take the field and inject some life into this team, make your voices heard. This isn't just about one player, it's about accountability, development, and doing what's best for the future of this franchise. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and click the video on screen right now to stay up to date with every twist and turn in this quarterback saga. If there's one place you'll always get the truth about your Cleveland Browns, it's right here.